Good morning. My name is Onepeg MG, and this is the news. So, quick apology. I know I haven't been around for the last few days. Life has a funny way of being life and getting in the way, I guess. But better late than never, I suppose. Anyway, I wanted to go into a couple of different things for today, get people caught up on major things that have happened over the last, I guess, few days, and a couple of minor PSA kind of things. First up, a little bit of a visual anomaly, I guess is the best way that you could put it. With the most recent update patch that Battlestate has done, there seems to be some graphical interference or artifacting that is going on where we're seeing these weird purple boxes. And the first clip that I have to illustrate this is from Ghost Freak. Now in this clip, you can see that when he opens the door, there is this random purple flashing that goes on, both when he is leaving and entering these rooms. Now it seems as though the graphical issues that we're experiencing tend to be located in roughly the same areas. This one factory extraction, for instance, as well as a few areas on customs and a couple of areas on interchange seem to be the biggest culprits. I haven't seen very much of this occurring in the labs. It seems like the majority of whenever this happens seems to be occurring on the quote-unquote older maps. And I obviously am not sure exactly what's causing it, but from what I can tell, it is just some random visual experience that is going on here and not something that should have an effect on gameplay aside from it just looking weird. Now, the next clip I have comes from my good friend Sneaky Russian. For those of you that don't know, Sneaky happens to be a member of my team. In the case of Sneaky, he's the guy that translates all of the Russian podcasts to English in real time as they're occurring, and thankfully for him, Battlestate also announces when he's doing that. I would highly recommend that you guys give him a follow, if not only to see him do his thing during the podcast events, but also because he's just a really good streamer and a really fantastic guy. But anyway, this clip that he took was during a labs run that he had. And in this, there's something interesting that happens. Now, if you notice right here, there is this interesting graphical issue with the dust cover and the receiver. It's invisible. So I'm not exactly sure, again, what is happening with this, but this is something that's being reported multiple times from multiple different people. And in this case, Sneaky just happens to have the best visual representation of this. In his case, this has actually been going a bit viral and as of right now has almost 2,000 views as a Twitch clip, which, as Twitch clips go, makes it pretty popular. So good for you, man. Next, we have a clip submitted by Redditor Orion Huey. Now, in this clip, he illustrates a problem area in the labs, specifically in the security arsenal room. Now, in this, there is this chair located on the security arsenal's workbench, where, as you can see, when jumping, you have a tendency to get stuck in this one spot on the chair. And it seems as though you're stuck in this perpetual falling animation. Now, this video goes on for about a minute where you can see that he's stuck, shaking back and forth, doesn't seem to do anything, hitting any movement keys doesn't really do anything. And eventually it gets to the point where he shows that in order to get out, the only way to really get out of this situation is to throw a grenade. And in throwing it toward the back of the office, you can see that he's then able to get out. Now, unfortunately, in this case, in throwing the grenade like he did, he then has to run around the corner and try and get to safety because the grenade going off would kill him. So hopefully this is something that Battlestate ends up, I guess, remedying. But we're bound to find little issues like this at some point, right? Moving on to this past Friday, we had a couple of events. One of which was a hotfix that came out on Friday, where if you've been hanging out in my stream, you've noticed one of the things that I was complaining about was it seemed as though there weren't really any scavs on maps like Shoreline, for instance. And while Interchange seemed like it was kind of okay, that really wasn't all that busy either. Turns out that I wasn't wrong for a change. And Battlestate acknowledged this in their hotfix patch notes, where they said that they increased some Scav spawn rates because they inadvertently had reduced them, which is great. Most notably, the biggest change in that hotfix was improved shadow quality settings. And while the notes were a little bit vague and people weren't exactly sure exactly what that meant, there was a Redditor by the name of Sweaty Novice that took it upon themselves to illustrate what that improved shadow quality looked like. And in this video, he goes through and shows us what the differences look like between low, medium, high, and ultra. Now you can see where the blur then becomes much, much sharper and eventually gets to the point where we're actually able to make out some really nice individual pine needles. Now I would argue that the shadow quality in this case is a little bit too nice for what is actually seeable in the real world, but it's nice to see that they were then able to modify this. To go a little bit further, there's also been limitations set for each one of the shadow quality settings in terms of their visibility. In the case of low, medium, high, and ultra, we'll see that slider kind of get maxed out between 500, 1,000, 1,500, and 2,000 in terms of the level of quality that you're then able to really achieve from setting to setting. Last on the list, we have information regarding the podcast. Now, for those of you that haven't been keeping up with the information as of late, there was a podcast that was done on Friday, hosted by Pestily and Veritas, in which they decided that it would be a better idea to talk to Nikita about the history of BSG, Nikita as a developer, his vision for what Tarkov is, and not necessarily something that has to do with leaks or change notes or things that are planned specifically regarding the game. It was more about getting to know Nikita and the development team and their plans for the future for both Tarkov and the Russia 2028 scenarios that are playing out in Nikita's head. Now, there was a lot of information that was kind of talked about back and forth, specifically regarding Nikita's background and games that he liked, like Half-Life and Counter-Strike, and his history of modding games like Morrowind, for instance. But when speaking in terms of Tarkov specifically, Nikita was saying that there was a lot of features that he wants to make sure that he implements. Talked about the 11.7 patch, the hideout that is coming along, and the biggest pieces of information that seemed to come from this was that in 11.7 and in 0.12, both of these patches, we should expect to see a wipe in each instance, which, as a consumer of a game like Tarkov, makes me think a couple of things. One, if the patches are going to be relatively close together, that means that the changes to the IP that they are planning on implementing, like, for instance, in 0.12, there's the discussion of releasing the update to the new Unity engine, that because of that new IP, there's a need to have to wipe. In the case of a patch like 11.7, with them wiping it, I think it's just because the current iteration of the game has gone on so long that wiping it seems like something that, I guess, should kind of be done. The other thought that I have along with this 11.7 and 0.12, 2 wipes in a row kind of scenario, also makes me wonder how spread out we could expect to see 11.7 and 0.12. Now, it goes without saying that usually when they do a wipe, they leave enough space in between so that the average regular normal player has enough time to be able to get to level 40 if they play the game on a pretty regular basis. In the case of someone like myself, I've been able to get to 40 now 3 or 4 times since this newest patch iteration, and I'm probably going to be wiping my account again in the next coming days in order to do it all over again, just to see if I could do it a little bit faster this time. But it looks like, on the surface, if I was going to be someone that was betting on it, that the 11.7 patch is going to be coming here in maybe a few weeks, whereas the 0.12 patch, even though it's, not seemingly all that far off, will probably end up being something that occurs in maybe late May to mid-June. Now, don't quote me on this. Obviously, no one has any idea on when exactly the wipe is going to be. And I know that as soon as any relatively popular content creator, and I'm not saying that I'm necessarily one of them, starts talking about whenever the wipe is going to be happening, the moment that anything like that gets even rumored, every content creator on Earth is going to have somebody in their lobby going, "Hey, streamer, when's the wipe?" And the end of the day, we don't know. No one does. The only people that know are the developers. And I think that the reason why they don't give us a date is because they don't even know. They probably don't have a really good idea until 2 or 3 days before it's actually going to happen. And even then, we've seen it get moved off, right? But the point in all of this is that there's going to be 2 wipes in a row. And personally, I like that. When that kind of stuff happens, that's when I have the most fun. The early to mid game for me as a player is the most fun aspect of the game. And I think when you become a proficient player, and again, I'm not saying that I'm one of them, you have the ability then to really hone your skills when you reset and get back to level 1, whether you do it voluntarily throughout the course of a wipe cycle, or if you're the person that wants to wait until battle state forces it upon you. One of the things that I found a little bit interesting was that Nikita said that he himself tends to play Tarkov from time to time, but he doesn't like to play the game because it felt unfinished. And in his mind, he wants to play a game that is a finished product. Now, of course, anybody on my end, my chat or otherwise, we all had a good yuck session about that because naturally we want to make fun of people that say that the game is unfinished, therefore unplayable, and Nikita kind of turns up his nose at the idea that the game shouldn't be played until it's a finished product for him because obviously he sees all the flaws. But that's the main complaint that anyone in our player base has been saying, that says that they don't really want to play the game either because the game's not fixed. So not really good marketing on Nikita's part there, but what can you do? The last thought that I have here regarding the podcast is something in regard to the anti-cheat. Now, we all know that cheaters are prevalent in Tarkov, and it feels as though the reason why people have such a problem with cheaters in a game like Tarkov is not just because they cheat. In every shooting game, you come across people that cheat. The problem is that in regard to the way Tarkov is designed and implemented, cheaters end up causing more grief to people than other games of its kind. It's almost akin to a game like Ark or Rust, where if people are able to exploit the system or cheat in a variety of different ways, aimbot or otherwise, they're able to then take advantage of people and their resources and set them back. And in a game like Tarkov, while recovery is something that is easily obtainable compared to other survival-based games, there is that overwhelming sense of loss experienced when you spend 30, 40, or 50 minutes in the course of a raid trying to survive, if only to then be usurped by somebody that is using third-party software to take advantage of you in your situation. Because of this, Nikita says that they obviously are trying to develop a more robust anti-cheat system. My hopes is that they're able to create something that does pretty well. Of course, they have to balance that with the ability for the game to run smoothly. And he did say in the course of this latest hotfix that once implemented, we might see additional stuttering. And for me, that seems like it's been true. Now, what I can say to that effect is I don't know if that's necessarily the devs covering their butt by saying there's going to be more stuttering after this hotfix, because we've seen this happen where these servers degrade, quality of gameplay degrades over time, or if it's actually this modification to the anti-cheat system that they're developing that's actually causing this issue. Now, I haven't seen a huge degradation in the quality of my gameplay. I'm still only seeing a hitch in the matrix every, 7 or 8 minutes. It's not 12 to 15 minutes like it used to be. It is a little bit more often, but it's nowhere near as often as it once was, and I'm still not getting any lag when I use scopes. So I'll take that for now. Hopefully it continues to improve. I'd love to see the next technical iteration be something that it improves this even further, but I have a feeling that the next big technical iteration that reduces the lags and stuttering even more probably won't come until after the Unity update. But obviously I'm going to remain hopeful. Guys, I just want to thank you so very much for providing me with this life. I am 2 weeks, as of today, 13 more days away from being able to become a full-time content creator, assuming that everything kind of keeps on track like it has been. I have all of you to thank for all of this. You guys are providing me with the best possible life I could possibly hope to have gotten, doing something that I absolutely love to do. And you guys are going to allow me to be able to quit my full-time day job. And I cannot be more thankful and grateful for that from all of you. So just, thank you guys. I don't know if I'll ever stop thanking you for providing me with this. But it has been an amazing, amazing experience the last few months to see this grow the way that it has. And from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you guys very much. And hopefully I'll be able to do even more for you guys and become more entertaining as time goes on. I really, really genuinely appreciate all of the support that you guys have been giving me. So just thank you so much. As always, once I have this thing uploaded, I'll be starting up the Twitch stream. I got about 4 hours of sleep last night, so if I'm looking tired, that's why. But I'm going to try and go Iron Man on this thing. And yeah, we'll be at it. All right? So thank you again, and I will see you soon. Bye.